After that section, we are on to number 17 and 18, where we're setting up systems of equations again. But this time we actually have to solve them as opposed to earlier when we were just setting them up, setting one up and not solving. So we read through, talking about senior class of a couple high schools, okay? Senior class for high school A rented and filled 8 vans and 7 buses with 310 students, but high school B rented 4 vans and 8 buses with 272 students, okay? And then it says how many students can a van carry and a bus carry, so we actually have to solve these out. So first, you should always identify some variables. I'm going to let V equal vans and B equal buses. Okay, so my first equation is 8 vans plus 7 buses carried exactly 310 students, whereas 4 vans and 8 buses carried exactly 272 students. So I set these up and I immediately realized they're both standard form because of the way I set them up, and then I'm going to run elimination on them. I'm not going to try to turn a 7 and an 8 into the same number. You'd have to use 56 and multiply both equations. Instead, I'm just going to multiply the bottom equation in an attempt to get rid of this cancellation. Well, I need them to be the same number but opposite sign, meaning I can multiply the bottom equation by -2 and achieve that, because this will be -8v. Okay? Then you have to continue your multiplication all the way through. We get -16b. And this is definitely one that you should probably throw in a calculator. I believe it's -544. Okay, it'll be worth a double check. That cancels out, and we are going to add these two together. We get a cancellation here. We get a -9b here. And again, throw that in the calculator, -234. If this doesn't work out whenever I go through the calculator and divide these, so I'm doing -234 divided by -9. If this doesn't work, I'll go back and check my math. It did. So we hit 26 people. That means a bus holds 26 people. All right. We use that information and plug into one of our original equations so that we can find how many a van holds. I'm going to use the top equation just because I haven't drawn a line through it. It's really the harder equation probably. 7 times 26 equals 310. That means 8v plus 162. I'm going to double check that one. 182. Yeah, I knew that one was about to be off. Equals 310. We subtract 182 from both sides. We get that 8v equals 128. We divide by 8, divide by 8. And we get that a van holds 16. So a 16 passenger van, a 26 passenger bus, and that would be what your answer would be. Okay, so it says to solve the answer in a sentence. You could do something quicker than a full sentence. You could just put buses hold 26. I guess this is a sentence though. And vans hold 16. That's really your fail-safe for in case you forget to identify your variables earlier. Number 18, very, very similar. Okay, so they're each in their yards. One of them, they bought them from different supply stores. She spent $54 on 4 daylilies and 6 pots of ivy. He spent $51 on 6 daylilies and 3 pots of ivy. So similar multiplication here. It's the bottom equation again. And it's -2 again. That was just kind of luck. I wouldn't bank on that. Okay. -12d minus 6i equals -102. But this time we were canceling out the second variable in the set, what would normally be a y variable. We get -8d equals 54 plus -102, -48. We're going to divide that by -8 on the very next line. Okay. we get the daylilies are $6. We use that information in one of our original equations. So 4 times daylilies, which are $6 now, we know that, equals 6i, or plus 6i equals 54. That would be 24. We subtract 24. We get 6i equals 30, meaning that a pot of ivy is $5. Again, you put that in a sentence. You put daylilies are $6, ivy costs $5, something like that. Okay. You could have used P for pots also. I just use ivy because it's more of the identifier to me about what type of plant it was compared to a daylily. 19, multiple choice question. Which of the following is not a solution to this system? And guys, I had a lot of people get confused on this one. Okay, but my advice, plot all 4 of the points. You'll be able to write on this, plot all 4 of them and see which one's even in question. So A is negative 4, 0. It's clearly in the double shaded region. B is negative 6, negative 2, also in the double shaded region. Then C is negative 2, positive 5, also in the double shaded region. So I'm sitting here now thinking, oh, it's probably D, but let's check it. 0, 4, that's right there. I know a lot of people are like, Mr. Sorrell, that's the intersection, that one works. It works for the solid line, but it does not work for the dashed line. So that one, in fact, does not work. So that makes it your answer. Number 20, these are difficult. Okay, this is kind of an eye into what it's like being a teacher almost, not really, kind of. So it says, find the mistake in the work below. What went wrong? What should have happened instead? So I look and I see they've gone ahead and set up 2 equations. And they chose the multiplication here. The reason I went ahead and chose the multiplication is someone could easily say what went wrong is they should have gotten rid of the x's instead. That's an opinion, okay, on which variable to get rid of. This one chose to get rid of the y's. You can tell that because 3 and 4 make 12, 4 and 3 make a 12. And so I do this multiplication, I'm checking everything. Negative 8 is fine, negative 12 is fine, positive 20 is fine, 9, negative 12, and then negative 9. Everything looks fine here. And then I look at their addition, okay? Negative 8 and 9 would make a single 1x, that's correct. 20 and negative 9 would make a positive 11, that's correct. So the error happens right here. Negative 12 plus negative 12 doesn't cancel. This would actually be x minus 24y equals 11. It didn't eliminate anything. So now I'm sitting here saying, is that what was wrong? It was they're adding wrong. That would be one way you could argue it. But really, the whole crux of the mistake happens in the multiplication phase. These are already opposite signs. Therefore, you did not need to multiply by a negative number. Okay? So, what went wrong? The y did not cancel correctly because they should have multiplied the top equation by 4 instead of negative 4. Something along those lines. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay? You see me, I abbreviated a couple things on the way through. It's not great handwriting, but the point gets across. The point is that they should have multiplied by a different number from the beginning in order to get the signs to cancel out, because this is negative 12, negative 12. Those are not going to cancel. Those are just going to combine. Okay? On number 21, we're back to inequalities. So we've got to go ahead and identify some variables. We're talking about 2 different types of gloves. So S is going to equal small. L, a cursive L, is going to equal large. Okay? And one of our equations is dealing with money. As we read through, we see the gloves cost $2 for a small, $4 for a large. That's how much the materials are. And she doesn't want to spend more than $40. So that means our first equation is 2S plus 4L. And I almost wrote an equal sign, but again, I underlined the word inequalities. It reminded me, no any more than $40. That means she needs to spend less than or